Okay, so you're a sophomore and you're planning on taking APUSH. Great, good luck. It's hard, yada yada yada, but the point is that you can still get an A in the class, believe it or not. It's going to take some hard work, major studying, and yeah, it's possible you might lose a night or two of sleep, but in the end, no one's died from APUSH, no one's passed out from APUSH, well, I guess at least not that we know of. But to help you guys transition and make your APUSH career a lot smoother, here's a list of 10 tips to help you get started.
Tip number 1, key terms. You'll get a list of 20 to 50 vocabulary words that you'll need to define for the chapter. This is normally your only weekly homework, which means that it'll end up being put off until the day before it's due. Trust me, you're going to want to do them as soon as possible so that you can study them. As you're reading the chapter throughout the week, just jot down a sentence or two whenever you come across a key term. This way you should have nearly all of them done before the weekend. Key terms are normally due on Monday, but Mr. Fouch will sometimes change that due date to a Friday, so make sure you check that every week. Tip number 2. Every Monday you'll have a test. Yeah, it sucks, but you'll get used to it. There are 3 kinds of tests that you'll have: a standard multiple choice test, a DBQ, or an FRE. DBQ stands for document-based question. It's an essay that you'll have to write in one class period. Like all essays, you'll be given a prompt, so maybe something like, analyze the economic differences between the North and South before the Civil War. But with the DBQ, you'll be given 7 or 8 articles that are relevant to the prompt. To get an A, you'll need to take the information given in almost every article and then use it to write help your paper. It might sound hard to cite 8 documents in a paper that you're only given 1 hour to write, but the documents will actually help. Most of the time, they'll give you enough information to write a strong paper. FRE stands for Free Response Essay. This is just a regular essay. You'll be given a prompt and you'll need to answer it using whatever information you've got memorized. That's why DBQs are nice. Even though they're normally longer papers, you'll be given plenty of information. One major thing you can do to get a higher score on your papers is to include as many relevant key terms as possible. So let's say there's a free response essay on the Civil War. Use key terms like General Tecumseh Sherman or the Anaconda Plan within your essay. You'll get a higher grade, trust me.
Tip number 3, the vodcast. So since your guys' class is flipped, each night you'll have to go home and watch a video discussing the reading done by Mr. Fouch. Now while I know he doesn't have the most Morgan Freeman-like voice, the stuff he points out in those videos is still very important. You'll see a website like this where you log on and boom, look at that, free history review videos over every reading you'll do throughout the year. Now these videos are at most 10 minutes, and believe me, the stuff he points out in those videos, probably on that test coming up. What's even better is that our brain is more perceptive to remembering images and sound than it is just simply reading a book. Which makes sense, because when you watch these, it's a lot easier to recall the vodcast versus just the reading you've done. So watch those, study up, and get that A+. Tip number 4, in class. Okay, you, Mr. Small Voice, just sort of chills in the corner looking dazed and confused in part zombie mode, half ready to pass out. Yeah, that's not going to help you in APUSH. Because you see, part of the deep learning in APUSH comes from our in-class discussion that happens every day after doing the prompt. Anyway, these discussions are important because, let's be honest, if nothing else, you're hearing the information again. How does the saying go? Hear something once and whatever. Point is, if you hear the information 30 times, odds are you'll remember that on the test. Who would have thought? So when Mr. Fouch asks to discuss the prompt, do it. The insight you guys go over will be on the test, and yeah, I know what you're thinking. It does kill a solid amount of class time. But that's okay, because it's all in the sphere of knowledge. Study up.
Projects. Probably the most useful, yet most obnoxious piece of general education you will face in your entire high school education. There isn't one time I hear project and think, yes, I'm going to get this done in a timely fashion. Nope, never. But in APUSH, most of them are actually useful, believe it or not. They breed a collective amount of course subjects together that make your project actually make you think. What? But if you have a project, we have one tip for you. Prioritize your freaking time. I know that you think you can get a boat done the night before it's due, but you can't. And I know you think you can get those debate facts the hour before, but you can't, so don't try. Maybe hop off mylittlepony.com for a half hour and plan. Maybe take a day off from playing League of Legends and actually work on your project. It will help, I swear. Don't believe me? Try waiting till the last minute. See how you do. Go. I'm waiting. And when you fail, I'll laugh. But don't. Swag. Tip 6. Test-taking strategies. Tests suck. A lot. But you guys gotta be men. Or women. We don't discriminate. And mad mode these tests like a boss. The first time you see an APUSH test, you're gonna think a few things. 1. Crap. 2. I'm gonna fail. 3. Hopefully I can get my grade back up. Just know that none of these matter. What? I mean, I could do this mathematically for you by using some quadratic formula crap, along with some standard deviation pattern stuff, and we would realize the tests are only worth 30% of your grade. Thinking about that for a sec, my chem class has tests being 70% of your grade. Be thankful. So what you need to remember is that there is no need to panic over one test. Just make sure that each time you get a little bit better in your studying, and scores will follow along. Then one day, BAM! You'll get an A.
Tip 7. AP Test. Somewhere off in the distance, you see a dark cloud. You don't worry about it because it's so far away. But after a few months, the cloud reaches you and sweeps everything in a massive swirling vortex that lasts for 3 of the longest hours of your life. After the storm, you find everything destroyed and your spirit broken, afraid of what is to come. This is a perfect metaphor for the AP test. The test is actually not that hard, but covers just about everything you have learned in class, which is a lot. The test consists of 80 multiple choice questions in 55 minutes, 2 FRE questions, both 35 minutes, and 1 DBQ question that is 45 minutes long. This doesn't seem that bad, but it covers everything from Montezuma to Barack Obama. To study for this behemoth of a test, you will need a couple things. The first is an AP review book. This amazing book takes your normal 900-page APUSH book and shrinks it down to 200 pages of pure organic content. Not only is this smaller, but it helps you remember those tricky Puritan preachers from the 18th century. The second thing you need to do is study a little every day for 2 months beforehand. Yes, you do not think that studying way before is necessary, but it will come up fast. Tip 8. By now, most of you are wondering, well, what about all the homework? Don't worry, patience is a virtue. Learn it, love it. Anyway, every day you'll get allocated a specific amount of reading to be used for the chapter that you get tested on next week. Now, while it isn't technically enforced to do the weekly reading, and yes, you could wait till Sunday night to do all the reading, it's best to follow these guidelines. If you don't, it will show up, trust me. Unless your name is Tyra Ruggie or Andy Nicologic, but it's not, so don't worry about that. The point is that if you want a good grade in the class, you should follow the reading.
Tip number 9, the first few weeks. So most classes on the first day of school give you a nice little syllabus. No, not in APUSH. You hit the ground running the first day, getting 20 pages every night, and then, as the cherry on top, you get a take-home test after doing all the reading. Now, this test is going to look like hieroglyphics, and you're not really going to understand what's going on, but just don't worry about it, because after that, everything slows down to a reasonable pace. So just keep calm and APUSH on.
Tip number 10. Listen to Mr. Fouch. If he tells you guys to stop talking and focus on reading during class, do it. One thing Mr. Fouch is big on is using your class time wisely. If you waste your time in class, he will punish you. For example, one day he told us repeatedly to use our class time to get ahead in the reading. We didn't, so he assigned an entire essay plus 10 extra key terms as homework due the next day. Plus, we had to do all that night's reading as well. So just listen to Mr. Fouch.
Alright, so we know we've just thrown a bunch of information at you and it may seem a little bit overwhelming, but the number one thing to note about this whole video is that as long as you put in the effort and put in the work, your grade will follow an APUSH. It's not impossible to get an A, and if you put in the work and the studying and the reading, you can get an A. These are the tips we gave you are things that took me the whole year to figure out, so consider it like a little gift from our class to yours. The final thing we have is, if you have any questions for really any of the APUSH students or Mr. Fouch, use the hashtag FHN APUSH. Not only questions about the class, but maybe over the reading or any key terms you don't know. Mr. Fouch is always on Twitter, so he can respond quickly, as well as any of your classmates who may be looking through the hashtag and know the answer to your question. Thank you all for watching, and good luck next year.